sorry. This just feels weird.
Hello, dear viewers. Andrew LaPomardo. Today, we're going to be talking about 10 bloodthirsty, bodacious female horror villain leads who broke all the norms, explored of late. However, most genres don't do a good job of handling the powerful skill set that they come with, and end up with a very bland, boring shell of a movie. It is disappointing that such great opportunities get carried away with the incompetence of directors, producers, studios, etc. for most genres, but horror films have done a far greater and much more profound job in portraying badass female lead roles that turned out to be iconic evergreen movies for years to come. It is always a delight to see lead roles guided to perfection, and it is even better when it's a powerful female that's spearheading the entire story. Today, we go through some horror flicks in which the women have absolutely aced their main roles, and most definitely understood the assignment. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Tamara, 2005. High school may be a nightmare, particularly if you're the odd man out or the odd woman out in this situation. For the few short years that you have to be there, your mates may and will pick on you, insult you, and overall make every moment of your life a miserable nightmare. Screw them and their idea of what normality is. These are the kinds of issues we deal with on a daily basis. So, who better than one viciously evil living dead girl to deal with our annoying daily hardships and trials? Tamara, Jenny Dewan, is a mistreated high school girl who is unattractive and unpopular. She likes sorcery and has a crush on her literary teacher, Mr. Bill Natoli, Matthew Marsden. When his high school's article about high school athletes using steroids is published in the school newspaper, in the hopes of boosting her self-esteem, the topic turns the kids against Tamara. To pull a prank on Tamara, 3 classmates enlist the help of 3 other dumb friends, but they accidentally kill her. Tamara returns from the dead, owing to a magic and a scheme of terrible evil vengeance against the group, attempting to separate Bill from his beloved wife, as there is a tie between Bill and Tamara due to a curse. When Tamara steps into class, living and well, and looking more lovely than ever, they are taken aback. They persuade themselves that she was just unconscious and that she got herself out of the grave. The image on the screen abruptly changes to the footage of Tamara while Roger is viewing a movie in the school AV room that night. Tamara confronts Roger after he removes the tape. She torments him with illusions of being buried alive, as well as his history of self-cutting. As evident with further similar scenarios in the movie, the theme is basically revenge, while also flaunting beauty, which is quite a deadly combo. Tamara isn't only a great viewing experience because of the script and special effects. Jenna Dewan gives an outstanding performance. She effectively plays 2 roles in this film, so to say she's flexible is an understatement. Tamara's 2 sides are diametrically opposed, and Dewan simply switches between them seamlessly. Passionate horror fans will rejoice to learn that she spends the most of her screen time creating a new, barely dressed and wonderfully wicked horror icon. Overall, Tamara is a well-made, decent little film that will excite, shock, and make your skin squirm at times, and deserves a place on this list. First scene. The scientists consider Syl, the alien-human hybrid that has been created, a menace because of her violent outburst. Memorable. Ginger Snaps, 2000. Is growing into a woman equivalent in some profound psychological manner to becoming a werewolf? Ginger Snaps dives into this unusual analogy and turns it into a sympathetic narrative, making it a popular horror film. Brigitte, played by Emily Perkins, and Ginger Fitzgerald, played by Catherine Isabel, are 2 sisters who are unapologetic social misfits in their high school. They are opposed to puberty and adolescent hormones. Ginger gets attacked by an unknown entity shortly after starting starting her menstrual cycle on one horrifyingly disastrous night. Her injuries begin to self-heal as soon as she appears to be on the verge of bleeding out, and she foolishly brushes her fears aside for another day. The movie depicts Ginger as she goes through the curiously harmonic and life-changing phases of adolescence and werewolfism from that point forward. Ginger and Brigitte are goth sisters that have a panache and liking towards death. With their town being deadbeat, they are probably the most interesting entities residing there. The rest of the happenings in the movie are for you to see yourself and enjoy, as they are deeper than you would expect. There is ample gore and blood in this movie to satisfy your normal viewer, and the story is strung in a beautiful manner, which we don't wish to spoil right now.
Corn syrup. Daddy, you want some?
At the peak of Ginger's physical change, the film imbues supernatural skills on its main female character, reinforcing the female desire and supremacy over the opposite sex. This film depicts a feminine power dynamic. Ginger has a masculine demeanor, and her desires are primal. When she asserts her power during sexual interactions, it shows. To counterbalance this, the authors additionally supply the sign of innocence. Brigitte exhibits a delicate, naive femininity while attempting to save her sister with her love. Both sisters, on either hand, are essential to narrating the story of development, and it is their dynamic personalities and unshakable link that drives the emotional impact. The passion of both women to their parts and even to each other adds an emotional element to the film. Even Pamela, their well-intentioned but naive mother, provides a lovely performance.
Bridget, you are not connected at her wrist.
This is the movie for you if you like werewolf movies. Ginger Snaps is an all-time particular favorite as a self-professed lycanthropic movie enthusiast. Werewolf films can be corny at times, but this one is highly self-aware, and the way the werewolf transitions is used as a tongue-in-cheek analogy for youth and the adolescent journey is clever and amusing. Catherine Isabel and Emily Perkins portray misfit, unorthodox sisters, preoccupied with death and bizarre things admirably. Even if you don't like werewolf movies, this film is a must-watch because the psychological drama and bond between these sisters is unique, innovative, and utterly distinct within the horror genre.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, 2006. Mandy, Amber Heard, becomes an outcast after a fatal tragedy at a party, while her buddy Emmett, Michael Welch, bears the brunt of the blame. Mandy joins Chloe, Red, Bird, Jake, and Marlon as they are attending a secret ranch event under the careful eye of ranch hand Garth, in an attempt to put her past behind her. As the story progresses, the body count continues to rise. A cloaked murderer stalks in the darkness. The gang shrinks. While the movie tries to appeal to the Friday the 13th formula, it quickly becomes apparent that something is bigger than that. The dynamics are quite normal, with the usual overly worried few and dramatic others, rounded out by Red, the party animal. Further along, the movie navigates through very sensually teen hormonally charged scenarios, and a somewhat predictable ending, which we still will not spoil for you today. As you can see, this film has it all. An exciting and entertaining storyline, a teen horror film with a spin, a filmmaker who loved the 70s slasher feel and incorporated it into every detail of the film. The yellow-orange colors are all around us to give it an old-school vibe. Decor, cars, and characters' aesthetics all have a slight yet effective sparkling of that retro flair. And merge that with massive cornfields and just the right amount of sun flares. Its smooth and leisurely pace allows you to engage yourself with the characters to the point where you care about their deaths, which is something that teen slasher films rarely do. The first person in this film dies roughly 40 minutes in, so we have plenty of time to select who we want to live and who we want to die. The cast is quite standard. Amber Heard gives a fine performance as the protagonist and a disloyal friend, but she is accompanied by the conventional young stars who appear in every slasher film. There are jocks, potheads, misfits, a troubled veteran, and so on. This is part of the movie's concept. Rather than establishing only cliches, it is actually very intuitive. At the end of the day, Mandy Mandy Lane has a few seductive qualities on the surface. However, if you get to know the true personality behind, you'll discover an unpleasant, vulgar, and all-around awful presence. That's totally worth your time. Just as all the boys seem to love Mandy Lane, the majority of the audience at the time also loved her.
I need you hopeless.
Jennifer's Body, 2009. Jennifer Check, Megan Fox, and Needy Liznicki, Amanda Seyfried are longtime best friends in Jennifer's Body, which begins on a seemingly lighthearted note in high school. Jennifer is the class's hottest and most popular hottie, while Needy is, well, needy. Hopefully that's her nickname. I mean, what kind of parents would call their child needy? Needy, who was once a shy adolescent, is now an aggressive mental patient who tells the story in flashbacks while in solitary prison. Despite having little in common, she has been friends with Jennifer since childhood. Jennifer brings Needy to a local dive bar to see indie rock band Low Shoulder perform one night. Despite Needy's attempts to stop her, Jennifer agrees to leave with the band after a strange fire engulfs the bar, killing numerous people. Jennifer arrives in Needy's kitchen later that evening, covered in blood, and continues to consume food from the refrigerator. She vomits a trail of black, spiky goo and rushes away, unable to ingest the stuff. The story progresses with loads of seductress-style horror sequences, which leaves Needy in shock to see her best friend behave so absurdly. It is found out that the band Low Shoulder that visited had taken Jennifer as a sacrifice for the devil, but the ritual backfired, and now she is equipped with a demon inside of her. The movie ends in a rather predictable manner, with all-time close friends having to battle it out. Of course, Needy comes out the winner, or maybe not, since she gets locked away in solitary confinement later on. The plot's most evident strength is its incredible execution. With its setup in place, the film proceeds in a more or less linear yet exciting manner to its predetermined destination, Needy and the Slammer, with many things along the way that could be classified as a twist, and some being clever ones too. Jennifer murders a boy, teases Needy, murders another boy, taunts Needy once more, kills Needy's boyfriend, Chip, Johnny Simmons, and so on. Karen Kusama's direction of this otherwise generic story is dealt with flair and creativity.
She can fly.
She's just hovering.
Indeed, there's something unique about the whole thing. A surge of enjoyment/thrill that grows more apparent as the wounds and humiliations showered upon poor Needy build up, gradually eclipsing the film's earlier wit. Jennifer's Body should deliver way more than what you ask for, and hence, it is on our list for you to watch as well. Titane, 2021. Titane is interested by the body's weaknesses and needs, its devouring processes, and how we try to deal with it all, either by feeding ourselves or, on the other hand, by dissolving the need into something else. Neither of these processes is enjoyable or socially acceptable. Titane, the Cannes Film Festival's Palme d'Or winner this year, is an extreme film, brutal, merciless, and humorous. Yet, the room it creates for compassion as well as reflection makes a very thought-provoking film. Alexia has been surviving with a high-purity medical-grade titanium alloy implant firmly connected to her skull since the horrific vehicle accident that nearly claimed her life. Alexia, now a secret dancer at underground automobile exhibitions, has developed a fetishistic affinity for cars over 10 years later, rather than being frightened off by cars following her major cranioplasty. Meanwhile, while the city is terrorized by a series of gruesome crimes, the anguished father, Fire Chief Vincent, is reunited with his long-lost son Adrian, who has been missing for a decade. Adrian is actually Alexia, who is under disguise so as to escape from the radar of the police for the crimes she has committed. Alexia is also pregnant at this point. The crux of the story involves the intricacies of such a complex relationship, where compromise and loyalty are key game changers. It also tackles the concept of being comfortable in your skin, which is a rather relevant topic in this day and age. It pulls an unexpected bait and switch, shifting shifting tone and plot to an undercover exercise in which Alexia pretends to be a grown-up Adrian who went away as a child. Adrian's father, Vincent, played by Vincent Linden, who gives another outstanding performance in this film and complements Agatha Roussel's in thematic context, seemed to have never given up hope on seeing his son again. Titane can comprise of a vast emotional depth, although you can say it feels as if it could have benefited even more than it already has from a deeper dive into Alexia's home background and what drove her to become a serial killer. Nonetheless, these are engrossing individuals, to the point where, by the time Julia Ducono closes things up, connecting together numerous plot threads, one is shocked and puzzled by past horror shifting to unusual beauty. This is a very distinctive movie that has to be seen to understand and enjoy.
I would do anything for love.
That's right.
The Love Witch, 2016. Elaine, a graceful and raven-haired young witch, stays in a magnificent Victorian villa somewhere in a scenic tiny town in Northern California, in the hopes of finding true love. The femme fatale is willing to go to tremendous lengths to find the right substitute for her recently murdered spouse, and to ultimately fulfill her insatiable needs by stirring secret magic potions and performing ancient rituals. However, as Elaine's pathological fixation begins to leave a trail of love-smitten men in her wake, a curious detective eventually breaks her spell. Meanwhile, she rents a house filled with tacky artwork based on occult imagery and becomes friends with Trish, Laura Waddell, with whom she enjoys tea at an all-tea women's shop. Elaine has an easy time attracting men, starting with Wayne, a charming professor, Jeffrey Vincent Paris. She tires of their clinginess when she obtains their loyalty, which causes them to feel levels of feelings that aren't natural for a man. Elaine encounters and murders a number of men, finally attracting the attention of a muscular, square-jawed investigator, John Keyes. Director Anna Billa doesn't extract her premise for all of the drama it has to offer, and she never quite solves the mystery of what to do with a villainous heroine who is resistant to change, but she has no trouble stretching the story's gender politics in new and interesting directions, or keeping the light-headed vibe going until the very end. Though The Love Witch appears to be set in the 1960s, with vintage vehicles and clothing, there are hints throughout that it is intended to be a fully modern scenario. For example, slick current cell phones exist in this universe. The Love Witch has been described as a story about the true price of patriarchy, which is technically correct and adds to the film's seriousness. The film does invoke the history of witchcraft, or a comedic interpretation of it, as a revolt against male-dominated systems that elevate female sexuality as a source of power. And Samantha Robinson takes us far into the darkest depths of a woman who has always desired men to look at her like she is a genuine person. But she has been denied that basic respect for so long that simply catching their gaze has degraded her to something less. Elaine considers herself to be simply a little girl fantasizing of being taken away on a white horse. Yet, she is grown into a self-centered monster. This movie stands as a relevant example to modern day happenings, and easily gets a spot on our list too. Suspiria, 2018. Directed by Luca Guadagnino, Suspiria is a big movie. It takes him about 2.5 hours to complete his replica of Dario Argento's renowned 1970s horror film. The original clocks in at nearing 100 minutes. It has a lot of atmosphere, beautiful cinematography, and outlandish scary moments in its runtime. Susie Bannon, Dakota Johnson, a young American dancer, shows up for an audition with the Marcos Dance Company in West Berlin, which is housed in a mansion across a bleak and lonely street from the Berlin Wall. Though she quickly rises through the ranks of the dance group, drawing the attention of choreographer Madame Blanc, Tilda Swinton, and landing a leading role. She soon suspects that something is wrong. The elder women who run it are witches who prey on younger female dancers in order to sustain it and, in particular, to help revive Helena Marcos, the company's founder, also played by Swinton. The movie delves deep into the psyche of the characters involved and tries to incorporate it all seamlessly with the witchcraft theme throughout its duration. It isn't possible to put the entire synopsis in a nutshell, as this is quite a long movie, relatively speaking. The thing about Suspiria is that it has a lot going on. It is divided into 6 acts and an epilogue. It's a movie that stays with you for days after you've seen it. It provides you something to engage with, but it's hypnotic as an audiovisual experience. Suspiria's most striking moments are delivered in a sequence of nightmarish montages. These strange visual collages get progressively more vivid and can be overwhelming. The film comes to a close with a visually and orally stunning finale. The movie hits you on a profound level, and it is in this sense that it feels like it captures some of Argento's original spirit. Dakota Johnson cuts a stunning figure on stage, rising to the scripted difficulties of her character. Mia Goth is also cast as Sarah, a fellow dancer, and original star Jessica Harper makes a cameo appearance. Tilda Swinton has 3 roles in this film, which are handled as gracefully and justifiably as one could. The school is a beautiful looking location set against the gloomy German countryside, and its enormous empty halls and mirror-lined studios provided a wonderful disorientating backdrop. Suspiria is a meticulously crafted film. Madame Blanc is a sophisticated matriarch and shares an intriguing relationship with Susie, and Mia Goth as the rebellious chain-smoking Sarah is terrific. May 2002. May starts off as a bizarre young woman's story. It aims for laughs and succeeds. It acts as a black comedy, and it soon moves past the laughter and descends into a portrayal of madness and sadness. May, played by Angela Bettis, is a young woman who has had a tumultuous upbringing. Her lone companion as a child and as an adult is a doll that her mother fashioned for her. It's kept in a glass cabinet, and she's been cautious not to take it out. She is a veterinary assistant, yet she is a shy young lady. She wants to connect with people, but it appears that all of her efforts have failed. When she meets Adam, played by Jeremy Sisto, a young filmmaker who loves her oddity, everything changes. Everything appears to be going fairly smoothly until she watches his short film one night. May misinterprets the message as something he likes. It frightens him, and he tries to keep as far away from her as possible. This devastates May. She simply desires to be with the ideal partner. She looks for it in her co-worker, Polly, played by Anna Faris, and a stranger she encounters on the street, Blank, played by James Duvall. She even makes an effort to connect with a group of blind children, with whom she works to assist. From here on out, the movie portrays several scenarios wherein May tries to socialize, but ends up failing miserably, which sets her off on an infuriated, violent path, just so that she can be someone in the eyes of this cruel world. The storytelling in this movie is commendable. Although it may seem slow-paced, once it reaches the climax, it makes it all perfectly worth it. The interactions of the various characters at different stages of the story also feel natural and well developed. As the socially anxious young girl, Angela Bettis is nothing short of fantastic. Her portrayal is amusing, terrifying, desperate, and poignant all at the same time. Anna Faris demonstrates why she is one of the best comedy actors of her generation once again. Throughout the film, Sisto and Duvall are incredibly consistent. May is fantastic because it is more than just a horror flick. Its themes distinguish it from other slashers. Loneliness is a major topic, and with each mistake May makes, she pushes herself further into isolation. It is not her fault, but regardless of how hard she attempts, she just can't seem to connect with people. Raw 2016. Freshman Justine, played by Garance Marillier, comes to the prestigious St. Exupéry Veterinarian School after being raised as a strict vegetarian. Justine enters a weird new world of strange school rituals and brutal initiation trials as she leaves the family home, and she'll have to chew over her unshakable herbivorous ideas before long. As Justine dives further and deeper into a dark world of unexplored animalistic tendencies, an unexpected and equally horrific desire for meat transforms her into something she never imagined. The senior students of the school, who demand to be called as Great Ones, conduct a very bizarre initiation. They drench the freshmen in a shower of blood from above and force them to eat a raw rabbit kidney, followed by a shot of liquor. This inspires an awakening of extreme proportions in Julia Ducournau's debut feature film Raw. Justine acquires new desires, which is set against the backdrop of university drabness. Ducournau explores a rather forbidden issue, at least in certain conservative circles, of female sexuality in film by using one controversial theme: cannibalism. She produces a beautiful feminist network of intellectual symbolism by creating a complex metaphor for coming of age and sexual awakening. Raw is startlingly creative and skillful, full of visceral horror and deep reflections on the various desires of adolescence. Garance Marillier gives an outstanding performance as a little girl pushed into a tumultuous, frequently frightening situation with few companions. Alexia, played by Ella Rumpf, her older sister, is the only one she can confide in and is a senior at the same school. She is the main force behind Justine's transformation throughout the film, persuading her to abandon her vegetarianism and indulge in her meat appetites. Alexia and Justine's relationship is anything but traditional, despite their shared love of human flesh. Justine is prevented from murdering her sister by the power of her familial love. Instead, she brings her to the shower to clean her up, a scenario that shows a change in both of their personalities. Whereas Alexia used to be the boss, her younger sister now appears more composed, demonstrating a noticeable increase in confidence that reads as a message of female empowerment. This message is especially powerful at the conclusion of Raw. Justine is returned to her family, where her father sits her down and explains that neither she nor her sister are to blame for what has transpired. He tells Justine that her mother suffers from the same affliction, unbuttoning his shirt to display many bite marks on his chest. Ducournau's work is undoubtedly one of the best horror films of the decade, with Raw, a film about female empowerment and sexual discovery in which cannibalism serves as a metaphor for larger social themes. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
I am going to eat your soul.